Hey Kev, let's follow this trail over here. This looks like there might be something waiting down there.
All right. Hey, wait a minute. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I thought it was just me. What the heck is that?
I don't know what that is. Whoa, do you smell that too?
That's unbelievable. Hey, look.
What the?
Hey, look, those branches are moving over there.
What the heck is that?
Holy cow, is that what I think it is? Look at that thing.
Oh my God.
It's a freaking Sasquatch. Welcome to the Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters podcast. I'm your host, W.J. Sheehan, author of the series of books, Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters, 38 volumes in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook. So have at them, my friends. And may I ask my co-host and brother, KJ Sheehan, for the royal trumpets, please? Excellent trumpeter. Well, folks,
I was expecting you to call on the royal trumpet, so I was able to polish it up a little bit.
Excellent job. A great hornsman. Well, folks, the time has finally come. The shop is now open on the website. All kinds of cool sweatshirts, t-shirts, mugs, magnetic bumper stickers, hats, 50 items to choose from, folks. So just go on our website, Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters.com. Click on the shop button. All of the books are there now. And if you just want a book, whatever it may be, you click on that one link and it will take you to that book, so you don't have to sort through Amazon's hodgepodge listing of these books. You click on the volume you want, you go in there. You could have Kindle, audiobook, or paperback. You just click on the one you want and it'll bring you right to it. But back to the shop. Now, we're going to make one modification. It won't affect you, but be aware that all of these shirts and polos are two-sided. So there's imagery on the front and the back. So when you're going through there and you're looking at things, click on the item and be aware that you could flip it around and see what's on the back. I think there's a little something there for everyone. We worked really hard on this. I let a lot of different people look at it, give me feedback. And I think you're going to be quite surprised. What say ye, my brother?
I was going to say, and be aware, if you get one of those get your creep on t-shirts with the black-eyed kid on the front, your kids might be afraid of you forever.
Yeah, we did a little get the creep on. We did a little always carry more gun than you think you're going to need. We even got a little Yowie blast in there from the past. And some neat things. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised, maybe even shocked at some of the variety of things that we put together. What do you think, Kev?
100%. It's all good.
Yeah.
And all multicolor, all double-sided. Get the creep on.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So, bro, what do we have in our Cryptids in the News and Other Oddities segment today?
Yeah, this is a little bit of creep and definitely a little bit of other oddities.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about something called Alaska's Dark Pyramid.
Oh, yes.
You know about this one?
Yeah, a bit. Yes, I do.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it before on here. Mm-hmm. And, it's this claim that there's this secret underground giant pyramid up in Alaska, and that it's near Denali Park, and that the pyramid that's underground is actually larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah, it's very, very weird, isn't it, that such a thing could exist and remain secret?
Well, and I mean, I'm not saying it does exist, but that's what's going on here.
Right.
Right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me after you hear about this. But it's, basically it's right in the middle of Alaska's wilderness, of course, which Alaska in itself is just a bunch of wilderness, being one of the folks that's been up there. It's like, Anchorage is this huge city, or rumored to be this huge city. And, for Bill, for your reference, it's about as big as Patchogue.
Anchorage.
And then Juneau is the capital, and you can't get there by car, and you basically have to fly in on a bush plane or take a boat.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, and that's where that encounter happened with my old buddy, God rest his soul, that was flying from Juneau to, oh my God, I can't think of the city now, but he went over the iceberg or the ice floe and had that Bigfoot encounter up there.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, so pretty wild stuff. And the story begins back in 1989 with a guy named Doug Muchler. I think that's how to pronounce his name. And he was apparently a counterintelligence officer that was stationed at Fort Richardson near Anchorage. And when he was looking at maps up there and studying it, he noticed a small area in Denali National Park labeled "not surveyed to date."
Yeah, pretty unreasonable to think that anything up there was not surveyed. When everything around it was surveyed, why would that segment not be surveyed?
100%, Bill. 100%. That's the whole thing behind it there, at least from his standpoint. And then it gets better. So that's 1989. And then in 1992, Muchler claims, and this is like well documented that he had this claim, that there was a story on the local news, on the local TV news, a report about an underground nuclear detonation in China that sent shockwaves detectable in Alaska. And when they were monitoring these shockwaves, it allegedly revealed the existence of a massive underground pyramid. Okay.
Now, Kev, do you follow that when we're talking about that? Do you follow what happened there? In other words, these shockwaves came across. They must have designed or circumvented a shape that indicated there was a pyramid there. Is that what they're talking about?
That's exactly it. That's what I take away from it, Bill.
Okay.
It's the fact that, I guess it's a little bit like sonar, right?
Okay.
But I don't know for sure. But that they're sensing this shockwave, and it shows that there's this outline of this giant pyramid under the ground.
Yeah, that's
now this nuclear detonation really did happen, by the way. That's documented.
Yes, it was legitimate. The question was, were there actual monitoring facilities in situ that could show what they're talking about here?
Exactly. But pretty interesting. And then what gets super interesting is that when he tried to follow up on this news story, he found that all traces of the report had vanished, and the station employees denied that it ever existed.
Yeah, it's a little weird, when it's mum's the word.
Very weird.
And people do that. If their job's on the line and they feel threatened, they just say, I'm not saying nothing, man. I've had enough of this.
And the government could have come in and said, hey, I don't want you saying anything, right?
Yeah, the old Men in Black deal.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
And believe it or not, there's plenty of people out there that have testified, whether or not anybody's believing their testimony, that such things have happened to them times 100,
No doubt.
So you gotta, where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, come on.
I mean, it's pretty interesting. And then, there's other folks that have come forward. Now, it's always one-offs, though. So this one guy, Marty Johnson, and he's an engineer up there, and he said that he worked on the Dark Pyramid project in the late 1950s.
Wow.
Yeah, and he described it as a top-secret facility accessed via an elevator shaft.
So Muchler's looking at it or seeing the maps or whatever for the first time around 1989. But this dude is predating him by 30 years.
Yep. Wow. And basically saying, hey, I worked there.
Wow, that's amazing,
It's very strange. Right?
I worked there. What exactly are you working on? Are they observing the Dark Pyramid? Is there some type of subterranean chamber now with laboratories and lighting and whatnot so they could keep an eye on this pyramid?
Yeah, and the rumor is that it was some kind of government facility and that, according to his son now, Marty Johnson's son, that the pyramid was capable of generating and distributing vast amount of energy. Now, we're getting onto the pretty thin ice here, right?
Yeah,
because it's one person saying this. But, it is pretty interesting.
Now, Kev, just from my own life's experience, and, I've always looked into odd things and whatnot, there has always been tales of and conversations surrounding the power of the pyramid.
Yeah.
And there's been all kinds of things through the decades that pop up periodically about, a pyramid-shaped thing. If you put your lettuce under it, it'll last for weeks,
Well, I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, there's all kinds of weird.
Yeah.
I remember back in the 70s, people that were smoking marijuana, there was this thing around putting pyramids over your bag of buds and it would be more potent or something. This is the kind of bizarre stuff.
All right.
But it's a sell, right? Like your pet rock.
Yeah.
There's going to be people that are going to buy it just because it's mysterious and weird,
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah, no doubt about it.
So
it gets a little more mysterious, or at least it gets a little more well-known after this.
Now, Kev, let me just ask you something, if you know. Who was monitoring the shock waves from the atomic bomb? Where did that info come from? Or is it just all hearsay?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, and that makes two of us. I don't know either.
Yeah. But, the government monitors that kind of stuff because they want to know who's testing stuff, whether these days, whether it's the North Koreans or what.
Now, what is it? The National Geological NGS... it's the National Geological Society or something like that does the monitoring of shock waves and earthquake activity and whatnot. Do they not?
I apologize. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's a crapshoot.
I know a little bit about a lot of stuff, but nothing about that.
Yeah, well, just remember, I know
like
a little about
song.
love, but maybe I could guess the rest.
There you go, Leonard Skinner.
Remember the old Skin?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it got a little more attention after that. I lost my place here.
Okay.
Sorry. And that was where this woman, who's a reporter, investigative journalist named Linda Moulton Howe.
Mm-hmm. Good old Linda.
She reported on, you know her?
Oh, yeah. She'd been around for decades.
Yeah, and she's known for her work on UFO phenomena. And in 2012, she reported on this and collected testimonies from various sources. And now some of these sources were, what are known as remote viewers, right, mm-hmm. Bill? You know this phenomenon?
Yes, absolutely.
So we really get onto the sketchy ice where, mm-hmm. They go into a trance and they can see what's going on in another place,
mm-hmm.
right, from where they are. But she went on Coast to Coast Radio and talked about this story. So that's where it really took off like wildfire.
Yeah, and just a little history on Linda. I first got to know her. She was very intricately involved decades ago in the crop circle phenomena.
Okay.
And then she caught on to these sonic booms, these booms that were being heard around the globe, and talking about them, and just a lot of freaky deaky, But she's very straightforward, very knowledgeable. I never took her as being in any way, shape, or form a fraud or trying to pump stuff up. She seemed to be legitimately on the prowl and more than willing to stick her neck out and report on a variety of different subjects that, to many are taboo,
Yeah.
But Linda Moulton Howe, very good, very nice lady.
Cool. Very cool. So that's about it, Bill. Like, that's the story. And there's not a lot more that I've seen written about it. So I would love, to hear from our listeners, like if they know something about this, or, especially if anybody lives up there. I know we have a lot of listeners, relatively speaking, in Alaska, and I'd love to hear from them.
Yeah. Now, how do they get in touch with us, Kev, by the way?
Yeah, you go to BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com, and after you go shopping for Get the Creep On t-shirt, double-sided, multicolor, then you go over to contact us, and you leave us a message, and, we'll definitely read everything you send. We may read some of it online, and you may even get a phone call from my brother.
Yeah, ready or not, here I come.
Exactly.
Awesome, man. The Dark Pyramid.
Yeah, the Dark Pyramid of Alaska.
Wow, just incredible, man. Can you imagine this thing underground? Larger than the Giza Pyramid?
Crazy stuff.
And if it's underground, it's protected from weather. They got to be talking about it. Couldn't just be an archaeological structure. It has to be some definitive structure that looks like it was built.
Yes,
because otherwise you wouldn't spend any time into like a gigantic stalagmite. Which is it now? Stalagmites grow upwards, stalactites grow down from the ceiling. Right?
All right, that's the second time you're stumping me tonight. Now cut it out.
I think I'm right with that.
Which ones come from the ceiling and which ones come from the ground?
Yeah, I think stalactites come down in a cavern.
Could be.
And stalagmites come
Fortunately, I don't spend much time in caves.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is if it was some natural formation, it would not garner this type of chatter or secrecy, if there is, in fact, secrecy,
Right.
But very interesting. Well, I got a couple of encounters, if you will, here tonight. Now, I'm not sure, Kev, if I spoke about this one a few months ago, but it bears repeating because it's really quite incredible if it's true. This bizarre evidence was actually shared with me by a guy named Clifford Gracie, a resident of Northern California. And this is what Clifford had to say. What I'm about to say to you, Bill, happened very recently, actually in the late summer of 2022 in Northern California. I live in Red Bluff, and my friend Henry lives in Crescent City on the coast, quite a bit north of me. The two of us are both enthusiasts of the Bigfoot phenomena. We share information that we've gathered regularly and several times a year at the very least. We get together for joint investigations of the creature in the woods. Having sent many photographs of some of our findings to you personally, Bill, you understand that we are committed to the hunt for the beast. As are you. I am also a fan of the Expedition Bigfoot series aired in recent years, and as such, I had taken note of an aerial that Russell Acord was in, tracking what he believed was a Bigfoot during an episode. There was an old railroad trestle that he had walked out on when suddenly his cameraman had said he had just seen a large, dark creature walk along the bank of the creek or shallow river below the trestle. Russell had repelled off the bridge, saying it was to save time, while I believe it was just a little dramatization for the sake of the show. I kind of agree. Something that I understand for the sake of the viewing audience. At any rate, he had reportedly found a track next to the river when he had made it down there. Now, let me fast forward for a moment. Hold on just for a second, Kev. I had personal knowledge of the trestle and the location that they were filming in during the shoot for the episode, having run across some interesting finds in that area myself with Henry in recent years. So the two of us decided to go back. It was late in the summer when Henry and I had returned, bringing along my quadcopter drone for what we hoped would be some aerial filming of this stretch of the river, using the very same trestle as our base point from which to launch and observe. We planned to launch the drone and follow the course of the river, filming the shoreline below the drone, looking specifically for tracks on the bank, believing that what Russell had found was in fact legitimate, and so we began. As we watched on the screen, the drone had flown out of sight, looking for evidence for 25 minutes or so, when I brought it back to the trestle. I then put a fresh battery in it and sent it off in the other direction, again allowing it to go out of our sight for quite some time. I had the drone cruising at no more than 10 feet above the creek or river and the shoreline, following the edge of the river and filming what was below it for the most part. Again, we aimed to locate potential tracks of a creature coming down to the river. It was about 10 minutes into this second outbound flight when the screen suddenly went blank, the drone being rendered entirely unresponsive, indicating something catastrophic had occurred during the flight. And we were now trying to get down the side of this narrow gorge filled with trees and deadfall to try to go and find it. It took us almost 2 hours to get down to the river's edge, where we finally found the drone, walking in and through the water at times to do so. The drone was in the clear, shallow water about 200 yards from the trestle. This quadcopter was about 2 feet wide or square, with each of the 4 rotor blades housed in a very sturdy plastic or nylon housing to protect the blades from damage, inside of which the blades spun around. When it was in flight, it made a distinct humming or whirring sound easily heard during the flight, so it was not entirely quiet by any stretch of the imagination. If it were coming in your direction, you would listen to it at some distance, perhaps even before you could see it, depending on where it was and where you were situated. Sorry, I kind of misread that a little bit. The quadcopter was mangled in every sense of the word. Each of the 4 rotor housings were utterly torn apart, and the main body of this quadcopter had been smashed like a can of beer. This did not happen from some random brush with a tree limb or a branch. It had been brutally executed by someone or something. Henry first dropped an F-bomb when he pulled it out of the water. I would need a bench vise, a heavy hammer, and various other tools to impart the damage done to this craft on the side of the river. As you know, Bill, I believe Bigfoot saw this thing coming and snatched it out of the air, destroying it in a fit of rage. The funny thing is that when the screen went blank on the trestle, I heard some animal noise in the distance, which I now believe was the Bigfoot getting bit by the rotor blade when it grabbed the copter. These blades could easily cut you if you were ignorant of them, especially if you run your fingers directly into them at speed, which could also be the reason for such destruction being imparted to the device by the victim. Having seen the pictures of the copter for yourself, I did not just get up one morning and decide to destroy something that cost me thousands of dollars to purchase. Had this drone been beaten repeatedly with either a stone or against the trunk of a tree, we would have certainly heard something, but we did not. I think it was mangled and crushed beyond repair, using physically brute force and a pair of hands belonging to a Bigfoot. What do you make of that, Kev?
Wow, Bill. Sorry. Coughing at the same time I'm
That's
trying
okay.
to cough.
Yeah, I know.
Why? I mean, now they didn't get any image on the drone, like as it was approaching?
Nothing.
Bigfoot?
It was destroyed beyond use.
No, but I mean, they're usually, when you're flying the drone, you're looking at the display real time. That's
Yeah.
how you know where to go, right?
Yeah, he didn't see anything. The screen went blank virtually instantaneously with
Yeah, so
whatever
it
happened.
must have been behind it or something or under it. I don't know.
Yeah, and just put the whack on it somehow. Who the hell knows? Maybe it frickin' just slammed it with the palm of its hand from the top and just blasted it into oblivion or shorted it out or whatever, But whatever did damage to this thing, it didn't happen with one shot.
No, and it would definitely hurt you. Like those, I have a little digi quad drone, and like I catch it once in a while if I'm flying it off of a boat on the water, because it's hard to put it down on a boat. Mm-hmm. And I'm scared to death catching the thing, just having it come down super slowly into my hand so I could grab it, because it's like 4 egg beaters on the thing with sharp blades,
Yeah, no.
So they're nasty. And then,
They
the only
are
other thing is it could have been like a bald eagle or something, because I've flown my Digi out at the coast and gotten attacked. Now, it didn't destroy it, but I had a pelican come after it, believe it or not.
No kidding, Kev.
Yeah. Thought it was like something bothering it, because I was trying to fly it near some pelicans that were flying along in a little formation over the water. And one of the pelicans went after the thing and hit it.
That's
Stayed
crazy.
flying. Yeah, absolutely crazy.
Right. Amazing, Kev. All right, now let's move on to an encounter in Alaska. This was experienced by Carl Bentley and his family and 2 other families who were camping together by a lake in southeastern Alaska. Now, this is what they shared, and this is really bizarre. The location of this lake, Bill, will remain a secret, as I told you. We do not like to attract a lot of attention in these parts, particularly those hunting for Bigfoot. I know many people would like to experience what we did that night, or so they think. But we were so frightened for our lives that night that I do not understand why they would for the life of me. We had 3 families together that night on the shore of the lake camping. Men, women, and children. 16 people in total. The vehicles were about 30 yards from the clearing where we had set up camp, consisting of 1 pop-up camper and 2 large canvas tents. I recall it was getting late, close to midnight, and we were about to wrap things up for the night when the noises began. There were deep guttural sounds coming from the other side of the lake, which sounded very odd to us, but at the time, they could have been made by any type of animal, of which there were many in the region. I remember there was a little conversation between the men that was dropped almost as quickly as it has started, everyone getting back to the business of going to sleep. Wayne and I were tending to stoke the fire while the ladies and kids were prepping for a night's rest, when the slapping began on the muddy shoreline. Eddie emerged from the tent, seeing Wayne and I facing the opposite shore, and asked what we were doing. We told him to listen, which he did, and it didn't take long for him to understand. We could hear shuffling in the trees, followed by foot stomping in the mud, then entering the water and back out again, in and out, repeatedly, with no other noises occurring. All I could say is it sounded like a couple of people deliberately stomping around in the mud and the water, a combination of feet slapping and splashing, and I tell you, it was loud. The wives were now back out with us, the kids peering out of the tent flaps, and the camper watching. This went on for about 15 minutes or so, unabated, all of us wondering what was happening. I thought it may have been some fight, but what puzzled me and everyone else was the complete lack of accompanying sounds. Just the slapping of feet in the mud and splashing. That was around the time the voices began. Now sit tight, I just got to turn this over here.
Voices, uh-oh.
Yeah. Okay, I lost my place here. There's a little mix-up here, but I think I've got it. Okay. There were no grunts or growls, but rather some back and forth communication, with one voice sounding higher pitched than the other, one being also very low. At times they were spoken over each other, like two adults having a heated dispute. At least that's what it sounded like. There was no way these were known animals of any kind. That much I could say for sure. And then everything went silent. Not a single peep was heard, having gone from complete mayhem to dead silence in the span of, say, 25 minutes total. So this was going on a long time. They were listening to all of this. Now, I must tell you, Bill, that locally, this is known as an area where strange things occur, with stories and lore going back a very long time. Now, you and others may be saying, so why do you go there? Well, there are a lot of places and stories revolving around Alaska. We just got done talking about the Dark Pyramid and various locations relative to all kinds of creatures. I guess that until you have your own experience, it means nothing to you other than that of a story being told and nothing more. At that point, everyone was more than a bit creeped out, and it became evident that no sleep would be had, so we decided that as late as it was, we would break it all down and head out of there. Wayne stayed with the women and kids, while Eddie and I went for the vehicles, and that's when things got a little bit dicey. This was an area used for camping, but not a state-sanctioned campground by any means. In other words, slightly overgrown and somewhat of a use-at-your-own-risk location at best. The two of us were walking with flashlights in hand when a 5-inch wide tree came forcibly down in front of us, and our lights immediately fixed on the tree and its base. This tree came down hard, and nothing visible to us had pushed it. It did not gradually fall with a crack or anything like that. It was shoved over and hard. We could see the entire tree from start to finish. Its base not hidden whatsoever by the undergrowth. And there was nothing there, I swear to you. Listen to me, because I know this sounds unbelievable. There are legends here of invisible, shape-shifting creatures, things that can come in and out of our realm, seen and unseen by humans, including the Sasquatch and the Kushtaka and others. This tree I'm telling you about, Bill, was alive and healthy, but suddenly was pulled or pushed down by something unseen by our own eyes to the ground in front of us. And my skin was tingling when it happened. What can do that is my question to you and to everyone else. And what exactly is your own explanation, Bill? We had stepped up the pace to get the vehicles when a second tree came down in the same fashion, and now I was afraid. Not only for myself, but for the entire group, and that is when the scream rang out in the woods. It sounded like a screaming, cackling witch. That's all I can say. The sound of which seemed to be resonating around us, though it was coming from all directions at once. Can you imagine this? Including from above us. Now in the vehicles, and having returned to the camp, everyone was shaken having heard the screams. They knowing nothing about the trees having come down in front of us. We packed up pronto and headed out of there lickety-split. I was physically trembling while holding onto the steering wheel for more than half an hour after driving out. What exactly we had experienced, I do not know, but it was terrifying for all of us. The children, who were all under 10 years of age at the time, are all in their late teens and early 20s now, still sharing their collective memories of that night's events from time to time. We never saw a Sasquatch, but I believe we were in their presence by the lake. And what had taken the trees down unseen by our eyes with the bellowing scream coming from seemingly nowhere is anyone's guess. Freaking bizarro.
Wow. Crazy stuff, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, splashing.
And definitely getting the creep on.
Oh, my God. Slapping,
Yikes.
splashing around in the mud and the water, like deliberately making noise. Two voices, one high, one low, sounding like an argument. Where have we heard that before? I've heard that at least a dozen times.
Absolutely.
You know, this type of back and forth, you know. And then these trees where they could see the entire tree getting shoved down in front of them and nothing was there doing it. That is bizarre, man.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely. Crazy stuff. And that was in Alaska, of course, where anything can happen.
Yeah.
Including the Dark Pyramid.
yeah, it's funny. I didn't even realize that tonight that you were bringing that dark pyramid up. And here I have a guy saying that a lot of weird things happen in Alaska.
Yeah, by the way, part of, I didn't talk about it when we talked about the Dark Pyramid, but Alaska in general, you have this legend of the Alaskan Triangle because a lot of people disappear and stuff. And we've talked about it before, but I'd be remiss to not mention it. I'm not a huge believer in this Alaskan Triangle because, I mean, let's face it, a lot of people go to Alaska because they want to disappear, honestly. And then, it is a very dangerous place. Even if you don't want to disappear, you can disappear very easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you can. If you want to drop out of society.
No, and I'm saying even if you don't want to drop out of society, like somebody may want you to drop out of society.
Oh, well, that's true. I mean, that's true. I mean, somebody.
Yeah, it's a tough place.
Yeah, somebody could put a bullet in you and nobody would ever
and somebody
find
could be somebody with a .44 Magnum. Somebody could be a Sasquatch. Somebody could be a grizzly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways to die in
Tough
Alaska.
place.
And it's not just Alaska. It's other places that are just really wilderness bound and
yeah, but especially up there because there's just the population is so low.
Yeah.
And then this not to take anything away from the people up there that are trying to enforce the law, just per capita, there's not many of them.
Yeah, and they say the police
and certainly per square mile.
Yeah, they say the police have their hands full with the people up there.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, I hate to say it, apparently there's a lot of narcotics and drunkenness and...
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were walking down the street in Anchorage 4 years ago, I guess now, and people were having fist fights in the street.
Wow. While you were
And it
walking
was
down
like
the
still,
street.
it was like 6 o'clock, and it was still light out, of course, up in Alaska in the summertime. But people are slugging it out, fistfights in the summertime in Anchorage.
Wow. It's bizarre.
When's the last time you saw that? Right?
Yeah, and you're a tourist,
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
I was like, let's get out of here.
Well, when Paula, God rest her soul, was in Memorial Sloan Kettering one night, I was inside. This was at night. I forget what time, but it was dark. It was at night. And the two Eddies, Little Eddie and Big Eddie, had parked out in front and was sitting in the car. And they had called me. I was up in the room with Paula. And if my recollection is a little skewed, it really doesn't matter. Eddie had said to me, I don't like staying out here, Bill. Some guy just beat the crap out of a woman on the street corner here. Can you imagine that?
Yikes.
Eddie's sitting there with little Eddie in the car, and some guy gives a beat down to a woman on the street corner, left her there on the sidewalk, and took off. So, welcome to New York.
Yikes.
Yeah, so Alaska is apparently not the only place where people are getting beat down in the street. Very bizarre.
Yikes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Those are the two great encounters. Great story on the Dark Pyramid. What do we have in our listener mail, Kevin? Anything
Good
going on?
stuff. Yeah, we got some good listener mail. The first one comes from Deacon Walt. Looks like a man of the cloth. And I'm going to describe this to you. So Deacon sent a YouTube video. I don't know if you got to see this, Bill. It came in a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And the title of it is Giants Discovered in Stonehenge in the UK. And it's, this, unfortunately, we're in this age now where AI is kind of being used to manipulate a lot of the things we see and a lot of things we read. And this was one where, like, they're showing that they dug up a giant right in the middle of the Stonehenge monument. Like this 15-foot tall thing. I don't think anyone dug up a giant in the middle of Stonehenge. One, I know they're not digging over there. And
I've never seen or heard of any digging at Stonehenge.
Right, but there was an image of this, and it looked totally real, right? Probably AI generated. So definitely not trying to poke fun at you, Deacon Walt. I assume that you meant it in a real way, and you weren't trying to trick us.
Well, I wonder if Deacon Walt might have even been showing it to us a little tongue-in-cheek.
Well, that's why I don't know. Maybe he was.
Yeah.
We'll never know. Unless he writes in again to tell us.
Now, listen, I'm pro-Giant. And I mean, I'm a Giants fan.
You mean the New York Giants?
If they ever start to play professional football again. But I do believe all of the tales going back, and with a lot of photographic evidence going back quite a long time, of people uncovering giant human skeletons.
Yeah.
In road work, various digs in places. These skeletons have been found, and these skeletons were around. I don't believe they're fake. And I think there was more of them, perhaps at some times, than just one abnormally large person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you look at the biblical accounts just going back with Goliath and his brothers, and the measurements of their beds and the measurements given of Goliath's spear and the weight of the head of the spear, which was like 20 pounds.
Yeah.
These were big dudes, man. So if they approached you and you saw them, you were intimidated for sure.
No doubt about it.
Like, what the heck, man?
Yeah. And the good news is, Bill, that, because we're all carrying these smartphones that have fantastic still life cameras and video cameras, I think we are going to start to see more video, more images, reliable image and videos of all kinds of cryptids. But that said, with the advent of more artificial intelligence and this generative artificial intelligence that can create these very believable photographs and videos basically from nothing, from word descriptions, I think we might also be in for some more hoaxes, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, Kev. It's a little disheartening, actually, because I just have a feeling that the water is going to become increasingly muddied going forward. So, we'll probably cherish a lot more some of the stuff we've had up to this point in time. Because I don't know, it's not going to affect me as much. I have a little more confidence in my fellow man than some people do. But there's certainly going to be hoaxsters on the rise. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
So,
all right. Well, speaking of hoaxsters, no, I'm just kidding. We do have an email from our world famous field correspondent Rick Fox Mulder in Ohio. And this one's pretty fun. So thanks, Rick, for sending it over. He sent in that the fact that, the Build-A-Bear corporation, right? Where you can go and make these dolls and stuff. The one they now have a Mothman doll, Build-A-Bear. Bill, this thing is 3 feet tall. I don't know if you saw a picture of it.
I did. It's kind of comical.
Absolute creepy Mothman. And this is from a guy who's sitting here looking at a big picture of a Mothman on the wall that my daughter gave me.
That is a nasty looking Build-A-Bear Mothman, I'll tell you.
I don't think a little toddler is going to be cuddling up to that at night, unless it's Eddie Munster.
Yeah, with his Woof Woof doll and his Mothman.
Doll. By the way, Bill, in the merchandise, do you have a Woof Woof doll up there yet?
I could see Eddie Munster with the Mothman laying next to him in his bed, keeping him company at night.
Come give me a kiss goodnight. I'm a little frightened, Mama. Don't worry, Mothman will protect you. All right, Bill, another good podcast. That's it for tonight. Thanks, folks, for listening. Keep the emails coming in. We love to hear from you. It keeps us going. And keep giving us some of those 5-star reviews as well, please.
Yeah, folks, and hit the shop. Show me you're interested in all the work I put into this merchandise. A lot of people had requested it. And finally, the timing was right, and I just went for it, So get on there, go to BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com. If you're looking for a book or an audiobook, you can hit books. If you're looking for any of the merchandise, you hit the shop button and show some support for the podcast. And by the way, if you should find yourself in the woods of Northern California, or perhaps in Alaska, stomping about, remember one thing, my friends. Always carry more gun than you think you're going to need. Sleep tight.